Joplin, Missouri is a small city along the classic Route 66.
It's your normal Midwestern town. We lived in a small subdivision out there, just far enough away from town, but it was still a very tight-knit community.
With graduation over, Stacy wraps up her day and gets ready to head home.
We photographed the graduation, and I remember packing up all our equipment. So I walked out the front door, and a gentleman opened the door and said, "Hey, do you need help?" And I'm like, "No." And he said, "Wow, it's really humid today. I think we're gonna get like a storm or something." And I was like, "Yeah, it's hot."
As the afternoon draws to a close, a tornado alert siren rings out for Jasper County and Joplin. Situated in the heart of Tornado Alley, these warnings happen often, and 75% are false alarms. Most residents ignore the warning and continue on with their day.
I'm thinking this is sort of typical. We see stuff like this. I'm not going to panic.
Little do they know that this is about to become a historic twister. Dusty is in the midst of work prepping for surgery.
We had scheduled to perform a hip incision and drainage for an infection the patient had gotten in the hip. It's a routine surgery as far as the technicality, but it is an emergency that you have to get to pretty quickly, or the patient will continue to get sick and become toxic or septic.
With her radio off, Stacy begins to drive home. She doesn't hear the tornado warning or the sirens.
I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and it is about 200 miles to Joplin. Knowing I had a 2-hour drive, I stopped at the gas station to get a drink. The clerk was listening to the radio, and he told me that there was weather coming into Joplin. I kind of thought, oh, I'm going out of town. It's not going to affect me.
But before Stacy can leave, a man convinces her to wait the storm out in the gas station, just to be safe. Dusty hears the first indication that something is amiss over the hospital's loudspeaker.
We heard code gray right as the patient went to sleep. It was just a code for the hospital to notify everyone in the hospital overhead that there was a severe weather threat in the area. Oh, I wasn't worried at all. Those happen all the time. Anytime there's a big thunderstorm or something, they call it, or the sirens go off in town. So not that it's anybody's crying wolf, but it's not something you get excited about. I'd ask the anesthesiologist, is it okay if we continue? Because even though I'm doing the surgery, they're kind of in charge of things as far as keeping the patient safe. And she said, look, this is an emergent surgery and we have to do it, so let's just do it.
Outside, the skies darken and the wind picks up.
And I thought, well, you know, if there's going to be a tornado, I want to take pictures of the tornado. So I grabbed my camera, grabbed an SD card, made sure my battery was good, grabbed my car keys, and I ran into the store because by then it was completely dark. I really didn't anticipate it being something so big. You know, I just thought, wow, it would be great to get pictures of a tornado. You know, not many people get to do that.
Although tornadoes are common in the Midwest, a unique set of conditions are required for them to form.
Like you can see little huge clouds going around.
Look at that!
So the key to how a thunderstorm develops a tornado is the updraft. Usually the downdraft from the storm wrapping around and causing it to converge into a small point. And that creates the tornado conditions of the ground.
There was about 18 people already in the gas station. I kind of stood by the windows because I wanted to get a shot of the tornado. The glass broke. We all rushed back to the back of the gas station. The wind was going so fast through the gas station that the walls were kind of shaking in, and we can feel cool air. Somebody said, "Hey, what's behind that door?" He said, "It's a cooler." So somebody opened the door. We ran into the cooler. We all kind of crouched down inside of there.
At the hospital, a shift in the air sets off a warning bell in Dusty's head.
I looked at my assistant, Chris, across the table, and I said, "Do you feel your ears popping?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "What the hell do you think that is?" And he said, I don't know. I said, do you think it's the barometric pressure dropping outside? He said, it may be from the storm. And then it was 5 seconds later that the tornado hit the building and kind of all hell broke loose.
At the gas station, Stacy is huddled in the walk-in cooler, trying to stay calm.
So we're in the cooler and you don't really hear the wind. You just hear the sounds and like the tinging sounds of things falling onto the roof. It was like ting, 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 ting the whole time. People screaming, people crying, and then we felt that first wave of the tornado go through. After the first wave went through, it felt like forever. We thought we were safe after the first one. We thought it was over with, and then the mother lode came through.
Oh my gosh!
As a tornado hits a hospital in Joplin, Missouri,
Listen to it!
surgeon Dr. Dusty Smith and his team are plunged into darkness in the middle of an operation.
Everything just blew up at once. The walls blew up, the ceiling fell in, water started spewing from the walls where the pipes were. It just felt like a bomb detonated. I just said, okay, we'll continue. Luckily, the extra tech in the room had a flashlight to turn on and shine it in the wound so that we could keep working.
While Stacy and the others from the gas station huddle in the walk-in refrigerator, mayhem reigns outside their tiny metal safe house. The tornado rips apart the gas station. It sounds like a war zone outside the refrigerator.
It just felt like we were in this like sacred little box. It just felt like we were in this box with 20 people, hearing the wind, hearing the noise, you know, feeling the coolness, hearing the thunder, seeing lightning flashes. I screamed at the top of my lungs the whole time. I prepared to die.
This is an EF5 tornado, the highest rating on the enhanced Fujita scale and the most catastrophic.
With tornadoes, you obviously can't put an instrument in its way every time and hope to know how strong it was. So we actually rate tornadoes based on the damage that they cause. EF0, which is the weakest, starts at about 90 kilometers an hour, to the strongest at top end, an EF5, and that's 315 kilometers an hour and greater. EF4, all the walls are down. Basically, the house is destroyed. And if you get to EF5, all of that debris gets wiped right off the foundation. That's how strong the tornado is.
EF5s are rare. Only about 2% of known tornadoes in the US are EF5s. But like the tri-state tornado, when they hit, the impact is catastrophic.
The tri-state tornado occurred on March 18th, 1925. It traveled 350 kilometers, began in Missouri, traveled through Illinois, and ended up in Indiana, giving it the tri-state name. The width of this tornado was almost 2 kilometers, and it was moving at about 100 kilometers per hour. This was a long duration, long track tornado, lasted 3.5 hours. Being 1925, there wasn't anything to detect the tornado or get a warning out, so it arrived in those 3 states without warning. It's the deadliest known tornado in US history at 695 deaths and over 2,000 injuries. We weren't doing tornado rating back then, so it was later rated at F5 based on the damage that was caused. The damage from this tornado was about $16.5 million in 1925 dollars. This is $1.4 billion today.